Welcome to Giant Radio, where we're all about big ideas in sales and marketing and eye-popping discussions with successful entrepreneurs. Turn up the volume and settle in. Now, here's the founder of Giant Jacks Media and your host, Paul Hitchcock.
Hello, everybody. This is Paul Hitchcock, founder and president of Giant Jacks Media. Thanks for jumping on Giant TV. Really excited to have my guest, Jonathan Sparks, here, who's front and center. I was going to say he's the lead singer of the rock band, and you are the lead singer of the rock band. He's a rock and roll attorney, and it's got a podcast show. I want to get this right, Success Decisions in Rock and Roll. And welcome, Jonathan.
Hi, thanks, man. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. You and I were just talking offline. I want to get into this because I said I was listening to your stuff on Spotify, which is awesome. And so let me start out. You're an attorney. You're a musician. What the hell is going on? How did you get into all this stuff?
You know, man, it's funny. When I was in college, my bunkmate, like in the dorm, his name was Josh, I think, and he was like a real traditional kind of frat boy. Like he was rushing and everything, and we were both like, I guess, having trouble falling asleep one night, and he's like Sparks, and I was like, what, dude? And he goes, I hate it, man. I can't fit you. Like, you just don't fit. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, you dress like a hippie and you have like peace signs and marijuana leaves on your clothes, but you don't ever smoke pot. So what's up with that? And I was like, well, you know, I can't sing when I smoke pot, so I don't smoke pot. He's like, and you're like, you know, rebellious and lazy looking, but you're like really like an A student, you know, so you're on the honor roll. Like, what's up with that? And I was like, well, you know, I just, you know, so I was very proud. Like, that was the biggest compliment he could give me, you know, but I feel like everybody is a three-dimensional person, or, you know, more dimensions than that. And, you know, I feel like our society now and sort of, you know, the media at large is like sophisticated enough to be able to handle someone that's got, you know, different sides of them, you know, like someone can be artistic and professional and you know, think outside of the box, and that can be a positive rather than like oh, well, you know, he's a jack of all trades and master of none, you know?
Right. Yeah. No, well, I mean, first time you and I were talking, and we had, you know, it was just an interesting conversation, and yeah, I mean, you're just a multifaceted guy. But so were you brought up, like, are your parents artistic? You know, you got the legal mind, you know, so where does this come from? You know, particular upbringing or what?
I mean, I'm sure we're all, you know, molded in a great deal by the environment we grew up in. I guess, I mean, I came from I guess you would call it a broken home. It didn't feel necessarily broken. My dad, my biological father, is very artistic and stuff. And my parents sort of met in an artistic setting. They were both, I think they opened for some famous, like Neil Young or something at one point. Like, they were singer-songwriters. They played like some big Labor Party things on the Hill, like in the, I don't know, 70s or something.
Yeah.
My mom doesn't really tell me many stories, but the ones she mentions, I'm like, oh shit, Neil Young, you know. Wow.
We know Neil Young, yeah.
Yeah. So, but you know, then she, you know, got divorced, and they split. I didn't see him until I was like 16 years old, and my stepfather was, who I really considered to be my father, is a total entrepreneur's entrepreneur. Like, he's very driven. He's results oriented. He's just got a knack for it. You know, he spots opportunities when everyone else is like, you know, hiding in a corner in the fetal position, you know?
Yeah.
So that's who he is. And he's got this amazing work ethic too, that he kind of, you know, expected me to have as well. So I think I picked up on that from him, and you know, I just took that kind of lifestyle, I guess, or way of doing things towards everything I've done. So in law school, I was like a big gunner, you know. I was very competitive, trying to be the best, and at music, I'm trying to be the best, and you know, why not? Life's short.
Love it. Love the attitude. And so you how do you do that? So your law firm, you're doing a lot of business work with your law firm. So tell me what you're focused on at the law firm, and then how do you manage that with putting out so much music?
Yeah. So I guess it's a question about productivity. Like,
Yeah.
how does one be productive? And then what the law firm focuses on. So let me tackle the second one first. So when I first opened up my law firm and like hung my shingle, I just realized that I had what felt like endless energy to take care of other entrepreneurs. And whenever I noticed that sort of God-given endless energy for something, like I know that that's where I need to be, because
Right.
because doing that work, I'm not going to feel down on myself or like despondent. You know, I might be tired, I might be producing a lot and using the gifts I've been given or whatever, but it's going to be fulfilling work, right? So it's going to be very satisfying. So I went after that. And I found also that there weren't really a lot of attorneys that were kind of in the entrepreneurial world with that mindset. Like, we're kind of pretty ponies, if you
Right.
about us, you know, us entrepreneurs, like, God bless us, you know, but we're different, and
Yeah.
we're creatives, and, you know, we're very results oriented, usually driven, and I get that. And I'm sure there's like some daddy issues there too, where I'm trying to, impress my father,
Right.
because
Yeah.
for my own entrepreneurship, for my law firm and my music stuff, and for all of my clients' entrepreneurship too. But I think it's nice for them to know a lawyer that, isn't afraid of talking about, business opportunities, isn't like a scaredy cat and a lot of lawyers will like just poop on your idea, I think.
Well, yeah, because a lot of lawyers are not entrepreneurs, right? I would say most of them are not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if you're an entrepreneur, you're coming up with a unique, original idea. But to a lawyer, anything that's unique and original and the world has never seen before, the law has never seen before, they don't know how that's going to work, right? Because they can't fit it into a box.
Right.
So a lot of lawyers, when they hear a new idea, they'll just poop on it because they're saying, I don't know what to do with this. They didn't teach us about this in law school. Well, it's like, okay, that doesn't make it bad. That just means it's a novel idea. And I'm kind of, I guess, turned on by novel ideas rather than so.
Well, yeah. And how did you tap into the entrepreneurial community? Did you just start helping a few and word spread, or?
I found myself in law school and when I was at King and Spalding, this big law firm in Atlanta, I found myself really like being a grinder, and I was kind of a hermit, I mean, I didn't have the time to really have a life or go out at all. So, you're working 60 hours a week, just grinding it out. So, I could do that, but when I set out to do my own firm, I decided that no matter what it was, every networking opportunity or, like social gathering that I was invited to, I was going to go no matter what. So I even went to one that was like 2 hours drive away. And, because that was just my policy, it was like hell or high water. I'm not going to be a shut-in. And it was hard, because I was very introverted at the time. But that did very well. It got me in all of these circles, and I enjoyed meeting, thousands of people. And from the looks of it, they enjoyed meeting me too. So it worked out really well.
I mean, you started getting clients that way then. You built your practice like that?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, because, there's opportunity everywhere. I mean, people are making deals and they need those deals to be memorialized in agreements, and they're unique deals. They're not. It's not something that you can download a Mad Libs contract for somewhere. And I mean, I guess sometimes it might work, but 9 times out of 10, you have a unique deal. And unless you have a lawyer write that deal down, then, you're not going to have it when it counts. It's not gonna be there anymore. Yeah. But your other question was about productivity.
Yeah.
I just did a podcast on this actually. I was telling myself the story that I couldn't possibly be any more productive than I was being when I worked for my law firm at about 8 hours a day, because I was like, quote unquote, so exhausted, right? I was like,
Right.
I had nothing left. And what I would do is I would, I'd watch TV, I'd kind of numb out, like I'd veg out, right?
Yeah.
And then around mid last year, I made the decision, right, to pursue music again. And in making that decision, I just said, I don't care. Like if I'm exhausted, I'm exhausted, but you only live once, and like no one's going to do it for me. So I'm going to go do it. So I just started doing it. And then I realized, and this is really interesting, all of the time that I was vegging out was actually because I wasn't doing what I wanted to do.
You mean after work at home when you were vegging out?
So So I would do that to make up for my not doing what I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that would make me feel better. But what would really make me feel better was to actually do what I wanted to do. And when I looked at it that way, I had like 3 hours, at least 2 hours a day of like open time after the kids go to sleep.
Right.
So like write music, record music, produce music, engineer, book live shows, practice live show, whatever. And then I didn't need to veg out. I wasn't interested in TV anymore.
I get that. I totally get that, because I really do. It makes sense because you're doing something you love and you're passionate about, and something I think happens with the body when you're doing that stuff. You just get extra energy, and it doesn't feel like you're tired. It's because you really are doing something you're passionate and you love. So
yeah,
I know what you're talking about exactly.
I felt like I entered the cheat code to life, because I thought that, an 8 hour day, we're all based on this like factory worker, 8 hour day thing, but that's really not the truth. Like you got 16 hours, man.
Right. Yeah. And I think it starts with the conscious decision. Yeah. Like you talked about, I've heard people say that exercising after work is less about motivation and more about a conscious decision to go and do it, and then you get into routine. I don't know. So
yeah, the hardest part is going to the gym. It's not, when you're at the gym, it's fine. You just get it done. But
yeah,
as long as it's going there instead of doing whatever else you would do.
Yeah. And you're cranking out, you said, a song a month, you say, or a week?
Yeah, a song a month.
The
record industry is an interesting thing now. I mean, when we were growing up, it was about records and albums and physical record sales, right, and all those things. Now it's about streaming, and keeping people's interest. So it's actually better, from what I found, to do a consistent release, of one song at a time. Some people do like a song a week, and I can't function at that level and do the law firm, but
right.
But like a decent rock song is going to have like, you got drums, bass, you got rhythm guitar. That's probably 2 or 3 parts. You've got like, a set of takes for lead guitar. You've got vocals, you got backup vocals, and then you got something flavorful like a Rhodes piano or a Leslie cabinet or something that sounds interesting. And not to mention engineering and songwriting. So it's time consuming, and it's fun as hell, but to do more than one a month would be a stretch.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, you must have a recording studio at your house, right?
I do. Yeah. Although I will say that my engineer buddy from Sony Records, and he does a lot of really major acts, and it's wonderful that he helps me, but he's like, bro, you gotta go get this professionally recorded.
Yeah, true artist there. It's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned growing up, music has changed so much. It's really incredible. I remember getting those albums when we were kids, and the thing was like a piece of gold. Remember that? Because you'd have it, you'd open it.
Oh yeah.
Lyrics were in there.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes there'd be inserts in there, and it was like getting a toy you could hang on to, and the smell of it and everything. I love
remember the smell. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that?
Would have, different record companies would have different smells, and Tool always had really great booklets, or Pink Floyd or whatever. And we didn't have lyrics online. So if the lyrics were in the inserts, that was great.
Yeah.
You study the art. But I don't feel like anyone's like studying music anymore in that sense. But
it doesn't feel like it. Well, I grew up the youngest of 4 boys, and my older brothers, were really into the Rolling Stones, and so
cool.
I just remember the Rolling Stones albums in particular were just pieces of artwork. It's just cool things, and I gotta remember those. Love them. So are you? Is your firm growing? Like, are you keeping your firm steady, or are you trying to grow it?
Yeah, it is growing. We increased by like 55 or 60% last year when it closed from the prior year, and we were doing good, in 2020. So yeah, we're looking to grow. We're looking to, some of our growth will be through acquisition, I'm sure. We're very good at, management. I have what's called a professional legal administrator, who's an accredited, it's a special designation for someone who has learned to manage a law firm, which is quite different from like other services companies.
Yeah.
But he's a total godsend, and we actually have a program where we utilize his services and some other PLAs to help manage other law firms at like a low subscription rate too. But yeah, we're very good at management, and that was I'm good at like client work, and obviously the legal work, and bringing in revenue and development and stuff.
Right.
But I'm not experienced in managing, and my PLA John is, so
works out.
Yeah, we're a good team.
Where do you see yourself kind of down the road? If you look down 5 years, any dramatic things you see on the horizon?
Yeah, well, the big, hairy, audacious goal is to get to 100 million in revenue within 2 years. We really we kind of backed into that goal. When I first started, I was seeing a lot of companies that utilized LegalZoom and like Rocket Lawyer type services.
Yep.
And I just saw extreme problems with those, like really bad problems. And the business owners had no way of knowing that there were problems until it was way too late, right?
Right.
So they would have like an employment contract without the right, restrictive covenants in there. And then their employees would like literally steal their company for free. They wouldn't pay a dime. And then they would like run away with it.
Yeah.
And, it's wrong. It's not moral, it's unethical of these people, but, they do it. And like Adam Smith told us, it's people wealth maximize, right?
Right. Yeah.
But that whole thing, I mean, you lose your whole, company, it's worth, 500,000 or $1 million or more. You can avoid that with like a, $1,500 well-written employment contract. It's not a deal, but you got to do it first, and if you just quote unquote hire a non-lawyer staffed company like LegalZoom, you don't know what you're getting,
Right.
So
anyway,
so I was like, well, all right, so how do I make a dent on LegalZoom? Like, how do I make it hurt? And I was like, well, what's their market share, man? So I was looking at it as an entrepreneur. So they were making at the time over $1 billion a year. And I'm sure they've increased by now, although they did take a hit in their stock price recently, which I thought was wonderful. But anyway, so yeah, over $1 billion a year. So I was like, well, if we made 10% of their market share, if we took that away from them, I feel like they would notice, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I got into 100 million.
You are competitive, Jonathan.
Why not, man? If not me, who else?
Right. Oh, hilarious. Those are lofty goals. It's great. I have no question in my mind you're going to get there. You know, now you and I are getting to know each other. Awesome. I love it. I mean, literally, you and I could keep talking forever, especially on the music thing. But for all those you listening, find Jonathan Sparks. You know, find his law firm, find his music. I'm looking at your Spotify stuff right now, and really a pleasure to have you on here, Jonathan. I know you and I are going to be talking more about a lot of stuff going forward, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. You too, man. Great talking with you. It's always a blast. Yeah,
and people know, whoever's watching this, Jonathan's information is around this video because this streams on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, probably Twitter. I don't know, may end up on TikTok. I don't know, but wherever it is, Jonathan's information's around us. So you can find him. Thanks, Jonathan. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
All right. Yeah.